So what I'd love to do is give you just a really quick update on the status of things, because this was made about 2 years ago, and to give you kind of the sunnier side, maybe questionably sunnier side. Right now in Iceland, the constitution is in this kind of constitutional purgatory. It's in a really low-lying drawer in parliament, so it still does have a chance of existing as the official Icelandic constitution, but it's kind of being just ignored. There's one political party in Iceland right now called the Pirate Party. They only have 3 seats in parliament, but they're very pro this constitution. Iceland has another parliamentary election coming up this next year, and this is really important because this gives the Pirate Party a chance to have more seats and to bring this issue to the table officially and to have a proper vote, whichever way it goes. And so we've been working together and trying to create some kind of global awareness for what Iceland did, not just because of, I think, the amazing experiment in democracy that it is, but also to bring this back inwards to Iceland, because if there's strong attention from the international community, there's more attention inside of Iceland. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of lay that groundwork. Do you have more that you'd like to add?
No.
Okay. If you have any questions, please feel free.
Okay, then I do have more to add. What he was saying about the Pirate Party is especially interesting now, because the polls show that they have 40% support. And that has never happened before in Iceland, and it's very unusual, of course, in most societies, that you see a new party that is sort of flirting with anarchism and so on, that is actually getting 40% of the votes. And this has been for months, it's only been rising. And then conventional parties that are normally just taking their third each are sort of almost disappearing. And maybe this is a suggestion that the system is changing, or that the people are demanding change from the conventional political party, where they just, you get to vote every 4 years and then they just sit and wait and see what happens and hope for the best, which makes absolutely no sense in today's society, where people could participate much more in the decision making. And that's what I'm hoping. And also, like Eileen said, they are the only party that has said we want this constitution, the way it was written, to become the constitution of Iceland. The reason for that is that the other parties, like was said in the film, have invested interest. They don't necessarily, all the people are probably nice and they have nice intentions, but the political parties, if they would vote for this constitution, they're basically saying that they're cutting their own power, and they are opening up a direct democracy. They're opening up for much more possibility for the public to participate in decision making. And them being representing the old system where they have the power, they just are not able to let go. That's what I think, So the next year election will be really interesting in knowing if people are seriously rejecting that system. Because I think, obviously capitalism and all that, but also this system of political parties and the way you have it here in the US, where money seriously just manipulates democracy, is not sustainable at all, and it will just lead to the destruction of this whole planet, to be very positive. So I think, Iceland is still this sort of a test sample of a nation. Obviously it's ridiculously tiny, and it feels like, okay, well, you could do it because you're 300,000, but how could we? But in my opinion, it just proves that this is a way forward, that when you make legislation, especially social contract like constitution, you have to involve the people that are supposed to abide by it. You can't just have the normal 20 white guys go into a room and write some stuff that then they apply to the others because it suits them. Those days are hopefully over. So what we hope, or what I believe also, being a ridiculous optimist, is that we're just midway through. Obviously, it's really, like you saw the people, when was that shocked when they're saying, oh, we're going to have a new constitution.
2011.
Yeah, and now it's like 2016 and we still haven't got it. We had the national referendum, where 2/3 of the voters says, we want this constitution to become the new constitution for Iceland. And the politicians just took that decision and ignored it. And that's obviously has not been forgiven by the people, because you don't have any other Western society ignoring the decision of a national referendum. That is just crazy in any terms. So I think we're at this weird middle of the river place now where we're trying to cross and we don't know if it's better to return or to keep on going. But we need to keep on going if we're supposed to make any difference and make a better society. And it's difficult, you know. It's really easy to be sort of sucked back into the whole sort of, oh, it's impossible, you know, it's the way it is, so we can't do anything. But it's not true.
It's such a tremendous honor to be presented. This is the first time we've been able to present the film together like this. So this is huge for me. I've been to over 100 performances of this, and every time I feel this kind of swell in my heart. I'm like, oh my God, we could do this. Something could happen. Like there's some kind of this rumbling underneath. And I'm not a political scientist. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a journalist, you know. But I felt like I could be a part of citizenry from watching this, from hearing your words, from watching this work. We saw 25 individuals kind of set their life aside for this period of time for that same belief system, that things are not working. We see that. So let's get out of that and let's try to imagine new. Even if it's not the best in hindsight, it's not the perfect situation, we're going to try these different experiments and we're going to make something work. And every time I would come home after being in Iceland and filming this, people in our country would go, what? They're doing what? Oh my God. So there's something there that we connect to, you know? Do you guys feel that too? And I think it's so cool that you could right now go on a Twitter, Facebook, or whatever have you, and post something about this, and it would reach people in the council, it would reach people in Iceland, it would reach people in Spain or in Egypt, that there's a way for us to connect right now that's extremely powerful, and we have these amazing tools at our disposal that I've been seeing used over the last year and a half, and seeing that come back in to Iceland. So what we watched, the process is actually coming full circle. Our effect of the process is affecting the process. I don't know, I think that's pretty cool, don't you?
Yes. I have a question. So I think that the issue of money is, and consumerism, that's an issue all around the world. How do you think you can kind of change people's minds about the way that money doesn't actually create happiness? How do you?
Well, I suppose people are experiencing that the hard way.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at the consumption of antidepressants or whatever measurements you can find to figure out how people in wealthy societies actually feel, the picture you get ain't pretty. You know, people, they sort of have all this individual wisdom of how the system is not working, but it's really hard to, as a collective, actually put it into words and also to change it. So I think most people agree, even though they're pro-capitalism, they agree that the system is not fully working as it is. I don't think anybody except the 1% says, oh, it's great that the very few are getting ridiculously rich while the rest of the world is either starving or struggling. You know, you have to be an idiot to say that that's a good system. And also because the system won't maintain itself that way, it's so incredibly unsustainable. So even for the 1%, if there's no more air or no more water, it won't be fun for them.
Yeah. So
I think sort of this realization is inevitable. But how late we respond to it is the big question, So I think what's happening now, or I'm hoping that there is some sort of a, how do you explain it? There's like some sort of a polarization or something happening, where more and more people are realizing that we can't continue like this. And I feel it everywhere that I go and talk about the film, talk about this process, and in Iceland, people are sort of really feeling it from within, both as individuals, but also somehow like as a group. And that's more interesting, because I think that the humans can take decisions as a group or as individuals. And we're always told that we can just take decisions as individuals, and we have to think about ourselves as individuals. But actually, when we make decisions as a group, they're much better for us as a group, but also for us as individuals. And my feeling is that there's bound to happen some sort of a change in the way we think as a species, if you like, that we think, okay, if we continue this path, our grandchildren are gonna die, If we change, they might not. And I think just because we are the first generation to realize that that's the fact, that wasn't the fact 100 or 50 years ago, we might be the first generation to actually change something, because this wisdom is affecting something that's really close to us and we care about, and genetically we can't ignore it, because science will tell you that you try to protect your offsprings. And this path we're taking as a group is just going to lead to their, extinction almost, if I can be very dramatic. But and I think that is sort of dawning upon us as a group, and that's really interesting. I think that's going to lead to change, and I do have the feeling that people will accept that life without stuff is not a worse life, And like we did after the crash in Iceland, it was great. All of a sudden people were talking about those big issues that we normally never spend time talking on because we're talking about trivial stuff to do with, brands or whatever. And everywhere you went, like in the bus station, in the cafe, in the funeral, people were like, what do you think about the economic theory about, people you would never expect were really developing this deep sense of analytical thinking towards society. And that just shows that they're capable of it. But then time kicks in and you have to do your job and make ends meet and you sort of lose focus. But certainly after the crash, where there was this silence all of a sudden to think and to rethink, there was an amazing ability of everybody to do it. And we opened everything up, this process. We said everybody can comment on what we're doing. And what happened was we realized that the wisdom of the crowd is great, And normally a large effort goes into trying to shut people down, not to hear the voices of everybody, And that is because of fear. But when we, for example, said, okay, everybody can comment, it just sort of emerged that people were really constructive and nobody who was against it came online and tried to shoot it all down because we were showing them the trust that they could participate. And they repaid the trust by really helping, And I think that's a valuable lesson that could be transformed to and transferred to other places. You can seriously trust people, and you can trust the fact that the wisdom of the crowd is immense,
Yeah.
But that answers your question.
So, I don't know, maybe I'm missing something here, but why is it called